What's up everyone, Landon with LMR.com. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the modern Shelby GT350R Mustang. Ford first teased the GT350R in 2014, and like any flagship Mustang, it stirred up quite the buzz within the auto industry. Well, since the 2014 GT500 was sending its final farewell and Ford had not made plans for it to return in 2015, they keyed in on the 50th anniversary of the first Shelby GT350. The first Shelby GT350 debuted in 1965 and was painted in Wimbledon white and accented with Guardsman blue stripes. The GT500 had made an impactful 8-year run, and Ford knew it was time for something different, especially with the transition to the S550 platform. After the initial release for 2015, Ford produced just 37 GT350R Mustangs, which possibly correlates with the number of FIA homologated competition Mustangs Carroll Shelby says his firm produced in 1965. Since 2015, Ford has offered a GT350R every year, with the car currently being in its 5th production year. So what do you say? Let's get down and dirty with the details, and I'm going to start with the interior of the car. The interior in the GT350R is standard issue S550 with nice subtle changes to ensure a rewarding driving experience. First up are the killer Recaro seats that feature very aggressive bolstering and harness slots for the occasional track day. These are the same seats found in the non-R models, but have a properly suited R logo sewn into the headrest. Like other factory-produced race cars from Ford, the GT350R allows just one passenger because of the molded rear seat delete. Although you could opt for a matching rear seat delete, as Ford Performance did offer one in their upgrade catalog. The GT350R steering wheel incorporates a racy flat bottom design that is wrapped in both Alcantara and leather materials. A red sight line is integrated at the 12 o'clock position for wheel orientation, and the materials are sewn together with red European style stitching. The icing on the cake is a menacing Cobra logo in the center of the airbag. Other small tidbits found throughout the interior were analog oil pressure and engine oil temperature gauges located in the center of the dash, a red engine start-stop button, a GT350 specific shift knob, scuff plates, and a chassis plaque located on the passenger side of the dash. Instead of the chrome accents found in base models of the S550, the GT350R had satin silver metallic trim pieces such as the door handles, door pulls, shift boot trim, cup holder trim ring, and the steering wheel trim. Not to mention, if you were wanting an all-out track weapon, the GT350R could be purchased without a radio or air conditioning. The outside of the car is rather unique to say the least, and it will definitely turn some heads when you're going down the road. The front bumper, fenders, rear valance, and hood are all carried over from the non-R models. What makes the R model unique is its taller spoiler and sub-splitter that both provide additional downforce. Throughout the production years for the GT350R, there were several color and striping options available. Now, in my opinion, one of the coolest characteristics on the GT350R was its carbon fiber wheels. This was also a first for a mass production car. The front wheels measure in at 19 by 11, and the rears are 19 by 11.5 inches, which were specific in offset and back spacing to the GT350R. Each carbon fiber wheel removes 16 pounds of rotational weight per corner, which helps in all areas of performance. The carbon fiber wheels are wrapped in super grippy Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires that last all of about 3 track days, and that's me speaking from experience, but trust me, they are pretty badass. Now, to clear the air, these wheels here are SVE's R350 wheels, which share a lot of similar traits to the carbon fiber wheels. Of course, when we first bought this car, we took the carbon fiber wheels off, boxed them up so we could preserve them, as they're pretty expensive. Like many Ford engines, they typically all receive some sort of a code name. The engine in the GT350R was coined Voodoo, and rightfully so. The 5.2-liter or 315 cubic inch displacement Voodoo shares basic architecture from the Coyote engine and is currently the highest output naturally aspirated engine Ford has ever built, producing 526 horsepower at 7,500 RPM and 429 foot-pounds of torque at 4,750 RPM, and of course those are rated at the flywheel. One of the most notable features of the Voodoo engine was the use of a flat plane crankshaft. This positions the connecting rods at 180-degree intervals versus the traditional 90-degree. This allows it to breathe better and rev its ass all the way to the moon, which in fact is 8,250 RPMs. With its 3,650-pound curb weight, the GT350R can scoot to 60 miles an hour in just 3.9 seconds and traps the quarter mile in 12.1 seconds at 119.6 miles per hour, according to Motor Trend. Atop the Voodoo is an intake manifold with long runners that contribute to the broad power band and is paired with an 87mm throttle body and large volume cold air intake. The block is cast from aluminum and utilizes the same bore spacing and deck height as the 5.0, but the 94 by 93mm bore and stroke dimensions is what yields the slightly larger displacement. Because of those larger bores, the Ford engineers use plasma transferred wire arc cylinder liners instead of the iron liners found in the Coyote. Inside of the Voodoo engine, you'll find a forged steel flat plane crankshaft, forged steel connecting rods, and forged aluminum pistons. Airflow is key in any application, and Ford ensured that the 32-valve cylinder heads were up to the task. They did so by CNC porting the intake ports, exhaust ports, and the combustion chambers. The intake and exhaust valves are larger at 38.3mm for the intake valve and 32.5mm for the exhaust valve. Because of the new valve train geometry and higher lift, specific camshafts were used to make sure each valve opened and closed precisely so that maximum airflow could be achieved. Intricacies within the valve train included lightweight hollow stem intake valves and sodium-filled exhaust valve. Connected to the 5.2-liter Voodoo engine is a Tremec 3160 6-speed manual transmission with a G-rotor pump that moves the fluid through a cooler located just behind one of the openings in the front bumper. Accompanying the 3160 transmission is a dual-mass flywheel that provides less rotational mass, resulting in a smaller clutch, which allows the engine to rev more quickly. Other drivetrain components include a 373 torsion differential and a GT350 specific half shaft that are just a tad beefier than the non-GT350 models. Now, out of all of the manual equipped factory Mustangs that I have driven in my life, the transmission setup in the GT350R has by far been one of my absolute favorites. The brakes on the GT350R are rather hellacious, to say the least. The fronts feature 15.5-inch two-piece iron rotors with aluminum hats and massive bright red 6-piston Brembo calipers. In the rear will be 12.6-inch rotors that feature the same design and materials as the front. Instead, they have bright red 4-piston Brembo calipers. This setup ensures brake fade is non-existent whenever you track the car. The GT350R was the first production Mustang to feature Magna ride dampers. The Magna ride suspension offers a wide range of adjustments in a matter of milliseconds. This system enables optimal performance for the track without sacrificing comfort on the road. The Ford engineers even counterspun the rear springs to achieve maximum effectiveness at the track, and it provided more rear end stability. Now, some miscellaneous performance additions to the GT350Rs was a differential cooler, engine oil cooler, and of course the transmission cooler. The Ford engineers also created a forged carbon fiber grille opening reinforcement that is roughly 24% lighter than the equivalent stamped steel component. You'll also find red GT350 badging that is specific to the R model and high-strength extended wheel studs. Now, before we close this video out, I think everyone deserves to hear the sweet sound of the Voodoo engine. For your enjoyment, here is a second-geared 80-mile-an-hour flyby. This, of course, was done on a closed road with a professional driver. This particular GT350R belongs to the owner of our company, Shannon Gadarian. He purchased this car to replace his 2000 Cobra R for his occasional track day. Having driven this car myself on track and at speed, I can honestly say it's my favorite Mustang of all time. Now, granted, I have yet to drive several Mustangs, but the GT350R is by far in a league of its own. To see more videos like this one, as well as how-to and product reviews, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like this video and share it with your friends. Of course, turn on notifications, that way you're notified every time we release new content, and you know what to do by now for all things 1979 to present Mustang and SVT Lightning. Keep it right here with the real enthusiasts, LMR.com.